Etude 8 is titled Blues, and this is definitely one of the more difficult, percussive, involved etudes. So this started with this kind of simple ostinato in 15/8. And then how it gets really interesting is that whereas there's 6 chords in each measure, there's a cycle of 5 chords that cycle throughout those 6 chords. So it has this kind of real feeling of displacement, and it's even sometimes hard to feel that feeling of 15/8, which isn't easy in the first place. Some of my students said that this feels like thrash rock, and I feel like maybe if you're playing it right, it should have a little bit of that really heavy metal kind of aggression. There's 4 variations of this kind of initial theme. The second one has a slower melody in the tenor voice, and so you want to make sure that you bring that melody out. The third one highlights the chords, and this is probably the most involved, difficult portion of any of the etudes in a certain sense, because the left hand and right hand are doing different things. They're both extremely active, and I know it's really tricky for my left hand. I have to use my third and fourth finger in a row a lot of times in kind of uncomfortable ways. So all I can say is practice hands separately, practice a lot, and don't be afraid to use your fourth finger, especially in the left hand. The last variation is maybe the simplest. It's right in the lower side of the piano, so make sure that you give that a lot of kind of percussive aggression as you're playing through. For an improvisation, I feel like it's a little bit disappointing if we lose these constant eighth notes that have been going on. So when I improvise, I'm trying to keep those eighth notes going primarily in the left hand. So it's almost like boogie woogie adjacent. But of course, if you're playing precisely the harmony in a very traditional way, it's probably not going to match very well with the rest of the piece. So what I would recommend is that you do some left hand practice alone. And I just use a traditional blues form, but I try to obscure it a little bit by maybe placing the root off the beat by putting in some unexpected kind of chords to superimpose, or even to go completely off the harmony altogether. And then in the right hand, you can kind of mix and match. You can try to really make some odd, maybe dissonant harmonic decisions. I sometimes try to get inspiration from that cycle of chords that started the piece. Or you can play as in or as out as you want, really. It's kind of fun to think about playing a blues in A flat in the right hand, even as you're playing a blues in F in the left. Those are just a few ideas for you. So yeah, this one, don't try to play it too fast. I tend to like max out around, I think it's eighth note equals 150 or eighth note equals 155. It kind of has its limits, at least for me, in terms of how fast you can play it. And I like to pedal just with each chord to accentuate and open up the sound of the piano a little bit. So just little short pedals to emphasize these accented harmonies. So that's it for etude number 8, Blues.